I am here with my oldest friend, honestly. Someone who I've been lucky enough to grow with over the years. Since we were like 11, 12.
I think earlier, because we played soccer together.
Right.
That's probably like 9.
Yeah.
Definitely. 4th grade.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Was it 4th grade?
It was either 4th or 5th, because I knew you before...
Middle school,
yeah. So it might have been 3rd even, I don't know.
That's crazy. But yeah, we have been fortunate enough to grow as individuals together in our friendship and relationship. So I am joined today by Molly Dolan. We're just gonna get right into today's episode, which is talking about the role of music in our growth and the human experience and the soul. Other than the fact that in our friendship, Molly and I share music and our love for music. Molly is passionate about music. She's had countless internships in the industry. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I guess I can introduce myself. Yeah, I'm Molly. Lydia and I have been best friends for a very long time. We have grown so much together, and I feel like in each other we've probably seen some of the biggest growth through one another. Totally. And have always been there for each other.
Totally.
And in the music sense, we've always been kind of in similar music listening habits, and we went to I actually went to my first festival with you. I went to my Panorama.
Yes.
So Lydia has watched me grow and been a part of my developing passion for music and seen me grow into whatever career I will foster in music in the future.
Right. Do you want to talk about any of your experience in the music industry?
Yeah.
I was actually just talking to a friend about this. I find it so interesting to talk to people in the business side of that industry because to me, I only see it as an art. Mm-hmm. So I'm fascinated by the business side of it because in my own view of music, emphasize the art and the artistry of it. And talk to me about your experience.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about the industry, and there's so much growth in terms of artistry and the record label model and how the industry functions in regards to the people on the business side and the people on the artistry side.
Right.
And at one of my internships at Song Trust, they're an independent music publishing organization, and they emphasized supporting independent artists, and whereas they were a subsidiary of Downtown Music, and so they worked with huge names, but Song Trust was about just making sure that independent artists got paid and everything.
Right.
And so it's interesting because it's such a lucrative industry.
Right.
But
not for the artists.
But not often for the artists, yeah. And so that's a very, I think, kind of the future of the industry is,
100%
respecting artists more. Not that they're not respected, but especially with publishing. And I think too what's interesting is a lot of artists right now are leaning more towards being independent, as opposed to being signed to labels.
I mean, you don't, in this day and age, with all the technology, and this was the conversation I was having with him, is you don't need anyone theoretically.
Yeah, no, you just need a few people who support you, and like a platform like Song Trust, as long as you know how to get your money,
right,
music's your oyster. The business is your oyster. You don't really. It's nice to have a label because they'll pay, they'll give you money to produce the album, and then you your album is owed to them and what you make from that. It's great that the label will give you that money, but also it's hard because it's a big kind of weight over your head, I think, as an artist. I can't speak, I've never made an album, but I feel like
yes,
it's pressure.
100%.
So it's very interesting, like, how weighing the importance of, like, the artistry aspect when you are faced with this industry that is insanely lucrative and just, like, a money-making machine.
Literally.
So.
Literally. And that's, like, especially for me, right? Like, being completely outside of it and just appreciating the art of music is, in my opinion, musicians should be the one making the money.
Yeah.
Because they, like, it's not even about money. It's like they produce the art. They should be paid appropriately for their art. There shouldn't be people in executive offices just thriving off of someone else's work.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I don't know. I understand that there's, like, a balance to it, and I get that, and there's a way that it's done, but I would love to see the artist do better.
Absolutely. Like, Coda the Friend.
Yes.
He has this lyric, and he says, it's in his song called Church, and he says, "Tell that record label I'm not your slave." And I think, like, he, on his Twitter, he's super vocal about what it means to be an independent artist and, like, the whole industry.
You know, it sounds like you've had experiences that are more pro-artist. I learned about the big three.
Warner, Universal, Sony.
Yeah.
I worked at Warner.
Right.
Yeah.
So I learned about those in the context of one of my communications classes in college. And it was all negative.
Yeah.
Because it was like all these other labels exist under those umbrellas. Correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So those are, like, music companies, I would say. So, like, Atlantic Records, that's under Warner.
Right.
Capitol is under Universal.
Where's TDE?
Arista. TDE might be independent, but they could be distributed through Universal. Like, that's like OVO is technically...
Right, exactly.
It's not I don't know if you can call it, like, a Warner record label, but they do get, like, distributed through Warner. It's very complicated.
It is. It is. It's interesting.
It is interesting.
It's really interesting to learn about all the different stuff that goes into the music you listen to.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who work to get that music out there. So it's very interesting.
Right. And that's the other part too, like you were saying about the marketers and everything. Like, that, to me, is the great gift for an artist, is that extended reach.
Yeah. And the syncs, like getting your music in movies and TV shows, like, that's huge. And that's how that's how songs become iconic. Like, think about when the guy, like, slides across the floor.
Oh,
just take those old records on. What is his name?
Risky Business?
Yeah, Risky Business. Like, think about that. Like, that song is automatically associated with him, like, sliding across the floor. Yeah.
Interesting.
That is a huge pull for artists and sync licenses. Is, like, if you can get your song, like, even, like...
Oh, wait. There was a song that I literally just listened to that was, like, probably something I shared with you, too. That was in a commercial... And I was so excited for the artist that their song was in a commercial. It was an NFL commercial. I don't remember.
A lot of artists now are just, like, they'll be commissioned to make music for...
Interesting.
Like, even Dev Hynes, like, Blood Orange.
Yeah.
He's super cool because he, like, Palo Alto, he did that whole soundtrack. Like...
Wait, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did the whole soundtrack.
I knew of that movie, like, before I knew of Blood Orange. That's nuts.
Yeah. He also just did, the guy who directed Call Me By Your Name has a new TV show out on HBO. And Blood Orange did the whole soundtrack for that movie, for that TV show.
Kid Cudi's
We Are Who We Are. We Are Who We Are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you
Kid
watched
Cudi's in it?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, because he was talking about it in the Zane Lowe interview.
Oh my god, I didn't know he was I didn't watch it.
I guess this is a good place
to jump in.
To start with some questions that I thought would be interesting Molly and I didn't share our answers to these questions so as to leave an element of surprise. Hopefully facilitate some good conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so without further ado, what is your, Molly, first music memory?
It's my first music memory. And it's hard because I grew up playing piano and in theater. So, like, thinking about this, I was like, what on earth was my actual first music memory?
Right.
And I think it was... So growing up playing piano, I actually did not enjoy playing the piano at all.
Why did you play it?
My mom made me because she... And now I appreciate it because, like, I can read music, and I wish that I liked it more. I honestly just... My teacher and I did not get along. But my mom's grandma was a piano teacher, and she was a music professor as well.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
right.
And so my mom grew up playing piano, and then, of course, that meant that, like, I was going to grow up playing piano. I was super young, too. Like, I was, like, 6, I think, when I started playing. And it was my first festival. Like, she would make us do piano festivals and compete. And like, we got there, I was in my cute little dress and everything, and I had memorized the song.
How old were you?
I was 6, I think.
Okay.
Like, I was a baby.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then when it was my turn to go up and play the piano, I refused. Like, I was like, I am not going up there and playing this song. Dude, it's so interesting, like, my relationship with piano growing up.
Because I know you play guitar now. Would you play piano again?
I play occasionally, but I love playing, like, movie scores. I actually DM'd this artist by Alexander. He's like a super well-known writer, right? But he's always behind the scenes,
right? And
he, through Blue Note Records at Universal Music, just released like a kind of modern jazz album called 000 Channel Black, and it is...
Wait, this is what you sent me?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It was so good.
So good. And the song My Margaret, like, I don't know why, but I latched on to My Margaret, and I could not stop playing it. There's a beautiful piano part in it, and I, like... I thought that there's nothing of it online because it doesn't have that many, much recognition right now. Right. So I reached out to him, but he did not respond.
Oh, interesting.
What was your first music memory?
Thanks for asking.
Of course.
My Aunt Rosemary got me one of those iPod shuffles, the USB stick one, the white one.
I wish I still had one of those.
Same. Yeah. I don't know what I did with them, but I don't know why I didn't save them. And I was so excited. The only music on it was classic rock. Because that's all I listened to as a child between like my dad and my brother. And I just remember I would go into my brother's room when he wasn't there, open up his laptop, and download all the music off of his computer onto my shuffle. Yeah, that's it.
Iconic. What kind of classic rock? Like, what artists?
A lot of Rolling Stones. Alice Cooper, I remember. I can picture my iTunes library from, like, when I was probably in, like, 5th grade, 4th grade. Like, because it's... I
had the same, yeah.
Right.
My dad used to drive me to soccer practice. And
because he was our coach.
He was our coach. And he would always have on, like, Christina Aguilera's album. You Are Beautiful was on that, and that was like my favorite song ever. And then he would also play like Aerosmith.
Right.
So I was obsessed with Aerosmith. Same. Yeah. So it was like my taste was like half Disney Channel, half like Christina Aguilera and Aerosmith.
Amazing. What a combo.
Such a combo.
Dude, early 2000s music
slapped.
Chef's
so good.
kiss.
I know. I miss
good.
it.
You can always listen to it still.
We were in the golden age.
It was just so interesting. Like, sometimes I listen to the music I used to listen to on the radio and, like, sing with my teenage babysitter. It's so inappropriate. This is something I am fascinated by, which, if we don't get into it now, we'll get into it later. But the influence of lyrics on us.
Oh, yeah.
and I know you and I talk about this too, especially in the context of female rappers, because just think that when you're listening, and it doesn't matter the genre, it doesn't matter whatever. I think when you're listening to something repeatedly, and even if you're just processing it subconsciously, which you're processing everything at least subconsciously, those messages are getting mixed in with your thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, again, in the context of, like, me as a young age listening to those inappropriate songs, like, I wonder the kind of influence it had on me and my rebellion and early maturation.
Oh, yeah,
so to speak.
100%.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Did you listen to inappropriate songs when you were young?
All the time, yeah. Well, like, my nanny Giselle, like, she was super into Beyonce and Shakira. B-Day was one of my first CDs, and so was Hips Don't Lie, whatever the album is. With
CDs.
With the vine going across her body.
Yes.
Like, those were, like, two of my first CDs I ever owned.
Did you listen to Avril Lavigne?
Of course I listened. I had her CD too.
Same. I was trying to remember, like, I remember going to get CDs. It was the most exciting thing.
I know. I had, like, a CD flip book.
Same. Mine was SpongeBob.
Mine was just a black one. Like, it was just a normal flip book. But my grandparents got me a boom box.
Oh my god, yes.
And that was the best thing. I would just, like, stand in my room and dance all day and, like, do routines. And just choreograph stuff. Thinking about it, like, the music that we grew up with, music has always been, like, slightly inappropriate.
Right.
But we really, like, the sexual liberation music movement, that was when we were, like, the kids listening to the radio.
That's so true.
Yeah. Like,
and I mean, like, even in the 60s and 70s and stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's so interesting, too, because I think it's interesting right now, like, at this age, to hear artists talk about their influences. And, like, obviously, as an adult artist, like, one of your influences is obviously love and sex.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who's monitoring that for children to listen to is, like, up for discussion. But also, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know if you can even ascribe meaning to it because, I mean, even for me, that whole idea of sexual liberation and just liberation in general, be free and express your whole humanity.
Yeah.
Is something who's to say whether you're exposed to that at a younger age is better or not?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think even kids today, like, same thing, you know, different artists. So, which brings me to, I just wonder even for myself, like, how much of that played a role in my misunderstanding or misidentification with, like, my physical form and the material as being what to seek value in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's loop it back.
Yeah, looping it back. Good.
Next question. What is your favorite thing about music?
About music? I think it's its connectedness and universality. Just the fact that I listen to music in other languages and I still am able to feel what they're going through.
Right. It's a universal language.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I don't know what they're saying, but I feel something.
Again, with the lyrics.
I know.
It's, you know, I think about, because I listen to a lot of Italian music, and you think about it sonically, it's just a different essence.
Yeah. It's different across all cultures. What's your favorite thing about music?
Kind of something similar. The universal language, you can tap into so many different emotions and moods and feelings and, just in essence, in different artists, in different areas, in different genres. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, even, like, there's this French artist I love called Pepite.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's how you say it. But they have this song called Les Bateaux. I don't know what it means, but it's so emotive. I just, like, over the summer, I would always listen to that song.
Yeah.
And even, like, Canapé by Polo and Pan. Like,
yes!
like stuff like that where it's just, like,
right.
light and airy and fun. Like,
right.
It's cool that we can all have this shared
right.
experience
right.
of enjoyment.
Polo and Pan is...
Polo and Pan's so good.
fantastic. Stay tuned to see if there's a playlist in the show notes or not. Next question. A song that always elevates your mood.
There's so many.
I know.
I feel like the one that comes to mind, and it's funny because I got, like, called out for this by, oh my god, I have to send you this. It's like an AI. Oh, it's called Pudding. I don't know.
Okay.
They just roast your music taste. Like, you link it to your Spotify, and the AI technology, like, goes through your music, and it's like Spotify Wrapped, but a roast. And it just, like, roasts all your music.
Oh my god.
And it called me out because I was gonna say Nice for What always puts me in a good mood.
Oh my god, why did it roast you because of Nice for What?
No, it roasted me for, like, Mac. It roasted me for, like, that's the whole point, is it just, like, you go into it getting roasted. Okay. But Nice for What, and the music video, whenever I watch the music video, I am like, oh my god.
I forgot that song, honestly. Dude, such a bop.
And the Miss Lauryn Hill sample. I always call her Miss Lauryn Hill. It's just Lauryn Hill, but
yes,
like, her sample in that too is
chef's kiss.
Yeah, chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
What about you?
I did a lot of multiple answers for
I had
these.
multiple answers for it too.
A recent one would be Nana by Polo and Pan.
Nana's so good.
So good. So good.
And Canapé by Polo and Pan always puts me in a good mood.
And then I said Twist and Shout by the Beatles.
I love that song.
It might be cheesy for some people, but, like, for someone that actually listens to the Beatles,
yeah,
like, that's still
I love that. That was my
great
first favorite Beatles song.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, another one, I love Miss You by the Rolling Stones. That song always puts me in a good... There's so many, like, Blue World by Mac always puts me in a good mood. Like,
yes.
So many songs that I just... Spaghetti is so good. Like,
you can't always get what you want.
Can't always get what you want. Oh my god, Casey Jones by the Grateful Dead always puts me in a good mood.
Are you a big Grateful Dead person? We've never talked about this.
Over the summer, I got more into that.
I remember that, actually.
With that documentary, too, the Take a Trip document. Is that what it's called?
Oh, I still haven't watched it. Next question. What is this song that when you hear it, you instantly need to dance?
It's called Bling Blow by Neff the Pharaoh.
I don't know it.
It's such a good song. If we're at a party or something, we just we go off. There's so many. Wait, you go. What is your thing?
I said, okay, for a classic, I said Dancing in the Moonlight.
Oh, I love that song.
Because that always is a good
I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston.
And then for recent, This Life by Vampire Weekend. Or Someday by The Strokes.
Oh, I love Someday. Also, Last Night by The Strokes always makes me want to dance.
Yes.
Or One Way Trigger by The Strokes makes me want to dance. I Don't Want It All by Kim Petras always makes me want to... Do you know that song?
No.
New Workout Plan by Kanye West always makes me want to dance. And I put Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang.
Yes.
And International Players Anthem by UGK and Andre 3000.
Oh, Party by Andre 3000 and Beyonce. Oh, that song goes off.
1,000%.
Next question. What is a song that touches your soul?
There's so many. I'm excited for these questions. The most important one is probably Purity by A$AP Rocky and Frank Ocean.
Ooh, okay. I want to talk to you about Purity and what that meant to you, because I took Molly to get her first tattoos when she was visiting me in 2020. We went January 1st, 2020, and one of the tattoos, it feels like a lifetime ago.
I know.
A whole different...
It hasn't even been a year.
a whole different person ago. One of them is purity.
It is.
And obviously I want to talk about Frank Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about even like A$AP Rocky. I don't think enough people give him credit for... I know that he goes around being like, I'm so handsome. Like, but tell us about Purity.
Purity.
Great song.
Beautiful song. One of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So basically in the summer of 2018, I don't know why I was just going through it. Like, I was really down in my life, and I was taking a animation class and doing an internship. Like, in between working and then taking the class, like, I was just kind of losing it a bit. Even though, like, I loved the class, it was, like, an 8-hour class.
You were spread too thin.
I was spread too thin. And I remember, like, first of all, the one thing that got me through that summer was just music and being able to, like, walk and, like, sicko mode. And the album just came out, Astroworld. And I would, like, wake up at, like, 5 a.m. and go to the gym, like, and then testing came out, and I remember the first time I heard it, I was walking home, and I was, like, about to reach the stoop of my apartment, and I just, like, started crying listening to this song.
Yeah.
And I think because it represented to me something that I had been missing all of my life. Like, I had never thought about the word purity in, like, a non-religious sense, I think. Like, it was a word that always kind of freaked me out before, because, like, the thought of being pure and, like, just what that means religiously, I feel like is very sexual and very, like...
Tainted,
yeah. And so hearing it, how they put it, which was just, like... It's actually, they used the Lauryn Hill sample of I Gotta Find Peace of Mind, which later played even a more bigger part of my healing process. But, like, hearing, like, you make my heart desire pure, and, like, A$AP talking about, like, how he hadn't spoken to his niece in weeks, and, like, both of them kind of, like, reflecting on, I want to say, like, how they could be better. And what aspects of their life they had been missing as well, and, like, seeking that purity. And I just, once I heard it, I listened to it 1,000 times. It's still in, like, my top songs 2020. Like, it is on every single one of my top songs. That is what I want to be, like, as somebody who has struggled in the mental health department since, like, at least early high school. Like, that was exactly what I wanted. It's all I ever wanted. And it's interesting because to me, like, what purity meant was just being able to go through life being pure in the sense that you're authentic, you're comfortable but growing, and, like, you, I guess, just shedding off the sad thoughts I was having, and like not being controlled by my thoughts, and understanding that, like, I am not my thoughts. Like, there is purity in me even when I don't feel like there is.
I love that tattoo, and I love that song spoke to you, and it's certainly, I think, again, something we don't talk about enough, but I think what you were saying about the definition of purity having to do with authenticity, I think that's really it. It's about shedding all of the conditioning and all of the weight and the layers and the things that aren't yours, so that you can be pure, so that you can be your whole, pure, authentic self without feeling like you don't belong.
Exactly. Like, fuck expectations, fuck, like, whatever, not to use the word society, but, like, whatever, like, like, the limitations that society wants you to think that there are, but you have no limits, and, like, that's what being pure is just, like, realizing your potential and knowing that it's infinite.
100%.
Yeah.
Any other songs that touch your heart and your soul?
Definitely. Well, like, I Gotta Find Peace of Mind. That helped me a lot this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So much.
Yeah.
It came up on my Discover Weekly, and I listened to it.
That's crazy.
And then I was in an even darker place this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that, I listened to it, 100,000 times. She cries in the song. This is, a 9-minute song.
Mm-hmm.
But she starts crying, and because it's a live performance, and just hearing how she was grappling with this love in her life, it really spoke to me. And this is something I wanted to ask you about, actually, because in the book that I'm reading, the chapter I read today,
please tell us what the book you're reading is.
it's called The Defining Decade: Why Your 20s Matter and How to Make the Most of Them Now.
I will link this in the show notes.
Yes, highly recommend. She uses their real life stories about their 20s. And this one girl, she comes in and she just feels like she doesn't have control over her life. She's really success's she's a teacher, but also writing on the side. But she makes really terrible men decisions. And and one of the things was she was my iPod is my best friend. And she was still listening to the music that she would listen to in high school. And then you learn more about her and in her high school experience, she was Korean growing up in the South. And she felt very alienated, and people made fun of her, and she didn't feel beautiful, and struggled with she was embarrassed about being a virgin and all this stuff. And so her music that she'd listened to was super aggressive, and she was just hateful, fuck the world kind of music. And even as so that was 17. When she was 27, she was my iPod is still my best friend. I still listen to that music. I still that's the only music I listen to, is very angry, woeful music.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And so Meg was girl, you gotta break up with your iPod. You should not be listening to that music anymore. You are not 17 anymore. That. And I was thinking about that. And even thinking about I love that song, the Lauryn Hill song.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the same Molly that was listening to it 24/7, because I'm in a way better place mentally in my life. And even what you were saying, that Lydia's friend the other day, he was oh, this is 2016 Lydia. And
my workout playlist.
Yeah, her workout
which has a lot of, it has a lot of my music from 2016 from high school that we would listen to at parties. I would listen to when I worked out. That was where my headspace was at. Was a lot. Right. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so interesting because thinking about, because we had very similar music tastes in 2016, and thinking about that shift for me.
Yeah.
That was coming off of when my ex-boyfriend and I dated, I would only listen to alternative indie music.
Yeah.
And when we broke up, there was a playlist of 300 songs that I could not listen to. So that transition of Views coming out, Life of Pablo coming out, Auntie coming out, that. Now reflecting on it, I think because I literally could not listen to the playlist of all indie music.
Right.
That it was liberating for me. And I was I felt free. I felt.
Right.
It was numbing the pain.
Right. It's a different genre. It's a different emotion. It's a different you.
Yeah, literally. And it's so interesting now that it still took me a year and a half to be able to listen to the playlist.
Yeah.
And so,
of course, it takes time to heal those wounds.
Exactly. Even thinking about 2016, me listening to that music, I still love that music. But do I want to be the person who clung to it and needed it?
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do, and I still I love hip hop, I love rap, and I listen to it all the time.
Right.
But that part of me, I guess, I think was just numbing. It was freeing and helping me cope with the sad music that I was not even sad music, just very emotional music. And it was emotional, but the beats, the production, it hypes you up, and so it's just a whole other.
Of course.
It's a different
It's a different mood.
Yeah, it is.
It's so interesting, too, because, like, I know my remark to that friend was that version of Lydia who was wilder, didn't, like, it was an aspect of self that hadn't yet figured out where to fall into the place of, like, my entire being. And I think that everyone in a certain aspect of their growing up, maybe, like, for some people, like me more than others, it happens earlier. But, like, you have to just figure out where, you know, contradicting aspects of your being or, you know, just different aspects of your being fall into place in the picture of your entire being. Like, it has its own place now. And it's interesting, too. Like, I listen to some old playlists because I've been on Spotify since, like, 2013. So I listen to my old playlists because they have good music.
Yeah.
I don't even associate with, like, when I listened to those songs anymore, which I think is, like, the gift of rediscovering your old music when you no longer have those old connections to it.
Absolutely. It allows you to look at your growth in, like, a third party kind of way.
Totally.
Where it's like, because your music is a reflection of you at a certain point, but, like, it's what you're latching on to that also says a lot about your, like, internal process.
Right.
Like, even thinking about, because I was obsessed with the 1975.
Yes, I remember.
And, like, I had my Tumblr, like, I was kind of, like, in my sad girl phase.
Yes.
And it's funny because, like, I loved them so much. All I would do is listen to, the album is called The 1975.
Yeah.
And, like, now, when I listen to it, I still love it, but it's a completely different, like...
experience?
Yeah, like, I am not the sad Tumblr girl who was just, like, yearning for a relationship, and that was all that my horizons could see, was, like, I wanted a boyfriend so bad, and so I was just listening to the 1975, pretending like I knew what love was and what love should be, and now, like... How many years is that? That's like...
You've been around the block.
Yeah, that's like 8 years maybe since that was me, like, since that album came out. And, like, I have the vinyl because, like, that album meant a lot to me, so I wanted to get it. It's different. It hits different now. And it's... Now it just kind of reminds me of that old me. And I'm way... Yeah, and I'm, like, way better off as this version of me. And I would never... I never want to go back there, but it's cool that we have such deep connections to music that, like, I can still... She's still there. It's just, like...
It's like an artifact of that self. And that's what I think is interesting, too, because what you say, I think, is, like, one side of it, and then the other side is there are songs that transcend our ascription of our own experience onto them. You can go back to it 8, 3, 10 years later and just connect to it in the same way, but in a completely different existence that you now inhabit.
Absolutely.
That's what I think is really, really cool, too.
Yeah. Or even the fact that we, as, like, both of us love old music. Like,
yes.
Like, it's not like we grew up in that time, and it's not like we were experiencing it in the moment, but
it hits you.
It hits you, and you understand what they're talking about, and, like, it feels just the same as you would think it would.
Exactly.
Like, when it first came out.
It's that, like, it's the alignment with, like, a deeper aspect of your being. Next question. Oh, my songs that touch my soul. I have one that I actually wanted to share a story about, but it's not like an aw story, but it's just like an interesting thing. Imagine by John Lennon, Heart of Gold by Neil Young, and River by Leon Bridges. But I think, like, in terms of recently, again, like, it changes depending on what's going on in your life. We both have record players and collect vinyls. And something I do a lot when I'm putting my clothes, my laundry away, I'll close my eyes and put my hand on my vinyls and pick one at random.
That's so fun.
Yes. And a lot of my vinyls, a good portion of them, are from my mom's brother and sister who were like hippies, very into, rock and roll and everything. And it was their Billy Joel album. And I'm like not that into Billy Joel. So I never had listened to that album like start to finish. So I put it on and...
Was it The Stranger?
Yes.
Okay.
So Vienna...
I love that song.
That, at random, I picked that album. That song came on and I was just like, whoa. Like it's speaking to me.
Yeah.
And that I think is like, again, it's one of the coolest things about music.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
I just recently got into that song.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's my recent playlist.
The lyrics are great. This is where we're going to stop with this conversation for today. I've decided to break this conversation up into 2 parts. It's a long conversation that we had, and I was able to cut it down significantly, but I think there are bits and pieces that are worth sharing. So I didn't want to cut anything out. So I've decided to make it into 2 parts. Next week's episode will be part 2 of this conversation, and we are going to talk about songs that empower us, music taste, samples, craziest music memories, Mac Miller's music and our experience, fighting the feeling, the idea of swimming in circles, the timelessness of music, originality, artists speaking to a deeper aspect of the human experience, the journey of growth with albums and artists, music as an alternate window into the self and others, and its ability to evoke connection, empathy, and understanding, and the importance of exploring music and genres. So stay tuned for that episode next week. I had so much fun recording this with Molly. I am so glad that she agreed to have this conversation with me, obviously, and I'm glad that we can share it with anyone that it speaks to. There was a moment when we were recording this where I just had this feeling where, wow, this is a Rick Rubin conversation. It's just, if you don't know Rick Rubin, look up any of his interviews, conversations on YouTube. He really, I think, to me, epitomizes this idea of looking at music as a deeper vehicle and its role in our growth and the soul and the human experience. Molly and I both made a playlist that is linked down below. You can also find Reself's January 2021 playlist linked down below as well. Stay tuned for more episodes talking about the role of different mediums of art in our growth and experience. You can sign up for notifications about the Reself beta test. The link will be down below. Make sure to follow Reself on Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, whatever floats your boat. Thanks for coming with us on this conversational journey. And we'll wrap it up next week. Bye, everybody.